All right. Well, let's look at a few news stories. I wait until 10 minutes after to start officially. I was sort of surprised by this. President Biden has been getting much more assertive lately. And so they've made a thread from the White House Twitter account mocking all the people that are opposing the student loan forgiveness. A whole bunch of people have been posting videos criticizing student loan forgiveness, and so they've been revealing how much money they had forgiven, the people that are complaining. So we'll see what comes of that. Many people are happy about this, and many people are very unhappy about it. But anyway, the White House is getting more assertive on social media. Perhaps they have a new social media director or something. So I thought this was even sooner. California is going to end new gas cars by 2035. I thought it was even sooner, but anyway, we're heading for electric cars everywhere. And right now, the charging stations are really not there. So we've got to get that improved in a hurry. Apparently, tattoo inks are not safe. They're unregulated. Apparently, the ingredients lists are not accurate. And they got so upset that in Europe, they have banned, I think, blue and purple, which is, I think, the most common colors I see, saying both of them are pretty unhealthy. So anyway, this research project is creating a list where you can look up the ingredients of the ink, and then you can begin to judge how risky they are. Apparently, it's been sort of widely unregulated, and quite a few of the ingredients are potentially cancer-causing. The people who don't drink and don't wish to look funny in the bar can buy water in these cans so it looks like you're drinking beer. This is a way to fit in if you go clubbing. So that's a helpful tip, I guess. Might be good at DEF CON too, I'm not sure. Anyway, I know they had like several 12-step groups at DEF CON this year, which I was glad to see because they make a big deal about all the drinking at DEF CON, and it's really not good for you. Anyway. So Trump, in a move that will probably surprise nobody, made Truth Social, and he stiffed his contractors. The contractors that developed the website and apparently to maintain it are supposed to get paid every month, and he only paid them for the first couple months, and now it's been many months without paying them. This is what he does to everybody. He does it to his lawyers, which is why he can't hire good lawyers. Does it to his contractors to build buildings, and he's doing it to the people running Truth Social. So I don't know why anybody works for Trump. Everybody should know this is coming. He will never pay you. I remember when the first impeachment, there was a famous lawyer that handled this, and he said, one of the famous lawyers said, I'm not taking him on as a client. He won't stop tweeting. He won't listen to advice. He won't shut up and let me do the talking, and he won't pay the bill. So there's just no point working for this guy. And that's why he gets his current lawyer defending him against in the issue of the search of his home is a TV celebrity from Newsmax, not a real lawyer. So she filed the wrong papers. 2 weeks late, the wrong papers, so the judge threw him back and said, you got to fix these. So he can't get any good lawyers to work for him for some reason. Anyway, and a whole bunch of his lawyers end up getting disbarred too. So Mark Zuckerberg appeared on Joe Rogan, and he explained his thing there. I thought this is pretty funny. First time I heard it, they quoted this line. This is Vice pulling no punches. Two men famous for running gigantic platforms that host disinformation and conspiracies talk together on a podcast, which is absolutely true. And I wondered what's going on with Mark, because he does nothing about all the abuse on Facebook, and he's spending all his time making the metaverse, which just looks horrible. All the demos that come out look ridiculous. They look inferior to Second Life. They look like something from 20 years ago or earlier. And he's pretending it's going to take over the world. And he talks here about why. He says, running Facebook is just no fun. You get up every day and there's a whole bunch of angry people complaining about stuff. And we probably spend $5 billion a year trying to stop all the abuse on Facebook, but it's still not enough to satisfy anybody. And I don't want to run a company like that. It's no fun. I want to hack new things, and that's what the metaverse is. So he finds it more fun to make the metaverse. But I think I agree with the conclusion of this article. They say, the metaverse is going to need content moderation too. They already had to modify their prototype metaverse to keep people some distance apart because they're starting to have abuses there. So anyway, that's good old Mark. And Twilio, this is how big company got, Signal. Signal got hacked because when you use the Signal app on your phone, which is encrypted, and I think it's from Moxie Marlinspike, it's very good encryption, but it uses two-factor authentication, and it used this third party called Twilio to send the notices for third-party authentication. And so that party got hacked. So they didn't hack Signal directly, but they hacked one of their supply chain products that are being used, and therefore they were able to harvest two-factor authentication codes for some people and get in their accounts. So they apparently compromised more than 130 organizations this way, because Twilio is used by a lot of people to send those alerts. So this is a interesting issue in the world of security if you trust other companies. And then if they get hacked, it's going to expose your data. It's a second order risk that you have to consider. And these documents didn't mean as much to people. What they claim, this is from VX Underground, which seems to be primarily reporting criminal activity. And what they say, this is an $8 million iOS execution 0 day being bid, although what I see listed here looked like Android devices, not iOS devices, and therefore I was confused. But anyway, here's a description somewhat of it working, showing you're going to take over the phone and then details what you're going to get. And then here's the pay and such. So 10 concurrent infections for both OS families, iOS and Android, a total of 10 infections, and details like the customer will have to provide their own command and control server and their own anonymization server, and you pay 3 million or 8 million euros for this. So it's well known that this happens. If you develop a good iOS 0 day, it's worth several $million bucks. And this, many foreign nations will pay for it, and the NSA will also pay for it, and there are a bunch of exploit brokers. So,
is it legal?
No, apparently not. It's a very interesting question whether it's legal. There are a bunch of, no, as far as anybody can tell, it's totally legal. It's essentially like weapons sales, like any other weapons sales, but there are no regulations over it. So,
But the money is going to Bitcoin or something, right?
No, not necessarily. I mean, you can get paid real money for selling exploits. You can get bug bounties.
You're going to your own banks and the government won't come up to you?
No, I don't think they will. I think it's legal. I mean, you're allowed to sell software, and you're even allowed to sell hacking software. You're not allowed to use it against a target, but you can sell it to like a law enforcement agency who would presumably use it legally, and that's totally legal.
It's open bidding, right?
Yeah, but as far as I know, there are no regulations yet to cover selling in other countries. It would be something like arms control, and I don't think there are any such regulations yet. I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I know, it's legal. And there are companies that did it, like there was a French company that did it, there was an Israeli company that did it, NSO. A bunch of companies did this. They sold these exploits everywhere. And
But those are not in,
yeah, there's ones in the US doing it too.
no cops after them?
No, I don't think so. It's not a crime. I mean, for example, you could sell Kali and things like that. You can develop hacking tools and sell them. I don't think there's anything, it's a crime. However, what happened to the Israeli group, NSO, is when you sell to really shady people, like they sold to the Saudi Arabia and they used it to bug the phone for that guy they killed, Khashoggi, then what happens is you get a bad reputation. And at some point, the reputation is so bad, you lose customers and your employees quit, and that's what happened to them. You sort of collapse from the consequences, but it's not because it was illegal. They didn't get, but sometimes there are sanctions against them, like sanctions against Chinese companies and against Kaspersky and such.
No,
But yeah.
And that's also got sanctioned by the U.S.
Yeah, they also got sanctioned, but that's not illegal. They just refused to buy it.
If they are a U.S. company, they'll be in trouble, right?
Yeah, I wonder. It's a very good question. If a U.S. company tried to do that,
Sanctioned, then they'll be back.
I don't know what would happen if you made a U.S. company and you openly started selling to the U.S. government. I think there'd be no problem at all. They wouldn't care. But if you started selling to like China or Saudi Arabia, they would probably try to stop you. But I do not know if there'd be a law to stop you, because the laws cover certain things. They might sanction you. That'd be what they do. But it's not like you go to jail. They just make you stop doing that business or do it outside the country, I would think. It's a very good point. Yeah.
An open hearing by I think it's the House Intelligence Committee.
Yeah.
And it was mentioned like really quickly that the FBI actually purchased Pegasus.
Oh, sure. The FBI purchases from Cellebrite is one of the many companies that sells these. Cellebrite will sell hacking tools that'll hack into phones. And by the way, in case an FTK can be used to hack into devices, your boss can put an agent on your devices to monitor what you're doing, which is the same thing. And they sell.
It's a company property, right? Company phone.
That's what they say, but they can't enforce that. And also, there's open sale of stalkerware everywhere. You can buy things which they say are to monitor your kids, but people actually use them to spy on their romantic entanglements, like their wife, to see if their wife is cheating on them and stuff.
But those got kicked out by App Store.
Yeah, that's right. Other things happen to you. Apple and Google might kick you out of the store, but it's not exactly illegal. It's just sort of shady, like pornography. You might get thrown out of polite society, but it's not a crime exactly.
They do it on their own websites.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, certainly you'll get complaints from somebody, but it's not like it's exactly illegal. Anyway, there's a few, I'm glad I got here and we're at the right time, that are very closely related to this class. Here's LastPass. I use this, a very common password manager, and they had a security incident, and this is quite relevant to this class. So we talked about this last time. We'll talk about it repeatedly through this course. When you have a security incident, what you have to do is first figure out what happened. Well, first you contain the incident, stop it from growing. Then you analyze it to figure out what happened, and then at some point you release some kind of statement. Statements to people you can tell, your own company, of course, internally, and releasing statements to the public. You may not have to do that at all, but if you do it carefully. And so here is, I think, a pretty good statement. It's worth watching these because this is very often done very poorly. So LastPass had a security incident. So what happened is 2 weeks ago, somebody got in their development environment. So they were able to collect source code. They gained access to portions of the development environment through a single compromised developer account and took portions of the source code and some proprietary technical information. Now, this could be really bad. This is what happened to RSA about 15 years ago. China hacked into them, and they stole something from them, and they were actually able to get the master key to predict all those RSA hardware tokens, which apparently there was a master key for all that because they had to replace a lot of hardware tokens, but they were never publicly admitted that because they do a lot of business with military and such. So what they did is they said they will tell companies what happened and replace all the tokens if you sign a non-disclosure agreement. So it never became public exactly what happened, but the general conclusion everybody got is that they must have been able to predict all the numbers on those tokens from some master key on their server, and the Chinese got that. And they used it to try to hack into Boeing, I think. So this could be concerning, right? If there's a master key somewhere at LastPass, maybe they got it. But they said they deployed containment and mitigation, just what you talk about here. First you contain it to stop it from growing, then you use mitigation to kick out the bad guys and keep them out. They engaged a leading forensic firm, very likely Mandiant, they are the leader. And now they have achieved a state of containment and enhanced security measures and see no further evidence of unauthorized activity, which means they have done some eradication event. They have kicked out the bad guys, they think, but since it's only been 2 weeks, they can't be sure they've really kicked out the bad guys. They might still be in there. Based on what they've learned, they're trying to do further mitigation techniques, and they have an FAQ here, which is useful. Has the password of my user been compromised? This is a very good answer. It did not compromise your master password because they don't have it. There is no master key, and they do not know your master key. Did they get the data in my vault? They say no, because our zero-knowledge model ensures that only the customer has access to decrypt vault data. This is the right way to do it, where they all have encrypted data, and the only way to decrypt it is with the password I type in, which they don't have. That's why they warn you, if you lose your password, there is no way to recover it. They don't have it, they can't recover it. You have to not lose your password. But that means even if a hacker gains total control of their system, they can't steal your data. So if this is true, and I have no reason to doubt it, they just do things right. This is what you should do, not have essential data you don't need. And so in case you get hacked, you don't lose the master key. So anyway, this is, I think, a very good report. Yeah.
This LastPass, they didn't use any customer data. Why did they have to report it?
Well, I don't think they have to report it. That's a very good question. Why do they have to report it? They probably don't have to. The breach notification will only require them to report it if they lost data. I think they're doing it just to maintain good relations with the users. And this shows a high degree of security awareness. Many companies will try to hide their problems. They think their users have been fooled into believing they're perfect. But LastPass is apparently smart enough to know that we would like to know if there's a security incident, so we can make our own judgment. And so you're right, they probably could have not told us anything, but it builds much more trust when they do tell you in the eyes of security conscious people. And I think they understand their users are technical security conscious people. So this is exactly what a lot of boards of directors will argue about. We should just say nothing, or should we say something? And if so, what should we say? Anyway, that's a good example of breach disclosure. And let me stop this video and make one to return to the normal lecture.